Here's a collection of some of the items you're going to need for today's procedure. You can see I've got a brand new oil filter, as well as the gasket and copper sealing washers. Part numbers for all of those can be found on Skidoo's website. So let's start by taking off both of the side panels. It's going to latch each one, open them up all the way, lift up and away from the bottom first. That'll get our first panel off. Do the other side, same way. Unsnap the two snaps, pop out, lift up, pop the bottom out, and back down to get the top out. Next thing we need to do is take the windshield off. We're going to do the spark plugs first. There's really just friction fasteners here. Two here that we can pop off, two kind of up here, one on each side, right about in this location, and then one in the very front. Everything below, the headlight and below is part of the hood assembly, so the windshield just pops off. It's pretty easy. We'll take these two. Get our fingers under there, pop them out, go to the other side real quick, pop these out. Got the one in the very nose, and then we've got these two on the sides just under the wings here. There we go. Windshield's off. So next job to do is to pop off the 6 hex or the T25 bolts that hold on the instrument pod. There's 2 here, then 2 each on either side. So I've already got these loosened up. I'm going to pop those off, then we'll remove this instrument. So now that we've got the 6 bolts off the front end, we're going to pop this piece off for the instrument panel. Just pops right up like this, but there is a connector in here for the speedometer. So that cluster, we're going to squeeze the connector there and pop it off. Then we're good. Then that comes right away. There is one other electrical connector we need to pop off in here before we pull the whole hood, upper hood part of the machine off. So we're going to loosen this guy up, pop it off. There we go. So now that'll be free. You might notice I've put some of my Torx head screws back in here, these 4, so I don't lose them. Up to you, but that's what I like to do. And then going forward, we're going to need to remove the 2 on each side here. One here, one down here. Sorry. So this guy up here, this guy down here, same 2 on the other side. We've already removed these 2 from the instrument when we removed the instrument cluster. So then with these 2 out, we'll be able to pop the rest of the hood. So now we've got the 6 bolts out, and we'll be able to just kind of lift gently, mindful of our pieces here. Slide it forward and pop. So removing the hood gives us access to the oil filter, and that's the oil filter housing right there. We've got 3 T30 Torx fasteners that we're going to need to remove to lift this cap off, which will give us access to the oil filter. And to make this job easier, I'm going to remove the exhaust here. So there's 4 springs on each of the 2 exhaust pipes that I'm going to pull off with a any kind of tool you need or like for this kind of thing. Some people use shoelaces, some people actually use spring tool or spring pullers. I have found that using an old spring I found, I think this was for like a riding lawnmower, allows me to hook into one of these springs and then pull it off just like that. So use whatever you want. People use different items, but do that. There's those 4 up top, 1 here down on this inside, and 1 here down on the bottom. We'll remove those 6 and we'll be able to pull the exhaust out. we've got all the exhaust springs off. I just want to show you there's a little hook on the inside of the exhaust muffler, if you will, that hooks onto this bracket. So to pull this off, we have to kind of lift up to get it out of that hook and then out. So I'm going to lift up and out. Comes right out. It's like that. All right, a little tough to see, but we're under the engine now, and there's an access cover on this plate. The very, very bottom of the engine, it's held on by 2 Torx bolts. I think those are T30s, if I recall. And inside, up above in there, there is a T30 and a T40. There you go. There's your T30 and your T40. Secondary and primary oil drains, so you're going to want to remove both of those. Tip on this access panel, you really only want to remove one of the Torx head bolts that are holding the access panel in, loosen the other so you can swing it out of the way. Mine were overly tightened by the last person who put these things on. They were frozen in, so I had to destroy them. But normally you just want to take one out, loosen the other to give you access to these. So I'm going to open both of these and let the oil drain out. While the engine oil is draining down below, we're going to loosen these 3, again, Torx bolts. These are T30s, I believe. We're going to take these 3 guys off, exposing the oil filter. All right, pulled off the oil filter cap. And the oil filter kind of fits up into the cap, so it came with it, and that's fine for the moment. I just want to show you that there's some residual oil left in the, let me get a good picture of it here. Yeah, as you can see, there's a little bit of oil, a couple of inches of oil maybe in there. You can see the reflection now. If we turn the primary clutch, that'll open up a passageway for the oil to drain down. So I'm going to do that real quick. Then we'll put the new filter in. All right, here's our new filter. I've put a new O-ring on, lubricated that with some fresh oil, and then also lubricated this rubber piece on the bottom part of the oil filter as well with some fresh oil. Always use a new O-ring. Put in a new oil filter here too. Kind of cleaned up, the cap and everything. We're going to carefully put this back in, and just the way we pulled the old one out, and we'll be done with changing the filter. So now you can see I rotated the driven clutch down there, the lower roller, if you will, and that opened the, I think that is what pumps the oil, right? So it's connected to that, so that opened the passage, and now the oil is drained out. I'm going to drop the oil filter in. All right, line everything up. We'll remove, or we'll put those 3 Torx head bolts back in, and then we can refill it with, for the 600, 2.2 quarts of oil. Okay, we've tightened the oil filter cap, and I believe it was 89 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds for those 3 guys. So use your torque wrench, don't over-torque those, 89 inch-pounds. Underneath, we used a fresh copper washer, crush washer on each one of the drain plugs, and those are 15 inch-pounds, so you don't got to over-torque those either. So for the 600, we're going to fill it with 2.2 quarts, is what Skidoo recommends for this engine, so I'll put that in here. I believe for the 900, if you're doing that, that would be 3.5 quarts US. So we'll put that in now.